And how important is it as a woman business owner to really establish or find a community where you can show up as unapologetic?
So the foundation of what I teach in being your most unapologetic self is learning how to trust yourself. Right? And so I have a framework, it's called my trust methodology, that I teach because at the end of the day, if you don't trust yourself to be all of who you are, then how is it that you are going to make that impact in the world? And to me, you are your most authentic self when you fully trust in all of who you be.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Her Table, Her Rules. I'm Juliet Peters, and I am thrilled today to have Wendy Paige Sterling here. This show focuses on female entrepreneurs, and you are an amazing example of an entrepreneur who really has kind of moved through several iterations. So why don't you tell everyone kind of, as a woman business owner, where did you start? And where are you now?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Juliet. It's such an honor to be here with you and to spend some time together. So yeah, I mean, my journey into entrepreneurship was very unexpected. I had spent about 2 decades of my career in corporate America working in digital ad sales and influencer marketing. And it was just one of those very unexpected moments that I didn't see coming. And it was the night that I found out that my now ex-husband was actually having an affair. And it was in that moment that I tapped back in and felt my intuition literally gut punch me and say, wake up. And it was in that moment that I decided that it was time for me to stop people pleasing, to stop living into a version of myself that everybody else saw. And it was time for me to stand on my own 2 feet and to start making decisions for myself and to stop seeking permission from other people. And so for the next year or so, I really went on a journey to find myself. I had always had the inclination to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to own my own business. Even as a little girl, I used to play, I used to line my stuffed animals up and pretend that, I was running my own business and they were my employees. And so it really was a night that I'll never forget because it essentially gave me permission to quit my corporate career and to launch myself into entrepreneurship. And I think that what so many women struggle with is really, how do I do this? I've been in this mold for so long that I don't know how to take that step forward. And one of the things that I love working with my clients on is really stepping outside of the corporate box and really seeing, well, let's look at your skill set, right? I worked in ad sales. I was the woman that they brought in to build regions from the ground up. I would take zero revenue, build it to multi-million, streams of revenue. And at the time I couldn't really understand, how am I supposed to do this entrepreneur thing? And then I realized I took a step back and I said, wait a second. You do this for companies. Imagine what you could create for yourself. And so being able to really step outside and to see that I actually had the skill set to be an entrepreneur. And that's really what I was for 2 decades in corporate. And so having that courage to say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself because there's never been a time where I've done that and I failed. If anything, I always exceed my own goals and expectations. And so what that enabled me to do was to start my first coaching business, which was actually supporting women going through divorce. Built that in 4 years up to a 7-figure business, and then slowly transitioned into now intuitive business mentorship, where I'm still helping women to find their voices, but ultimately it's really about tapping into that intuition for them to start creating businesses and lives for themselves. It's rooted in what lights them up and what they're passionate about, instead of staying stuck in what people expect them or what they've become known for. And that really is what inspires me every day to continue on my path and to reach out to women who want to do the same.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think women struggle with really is 2 things, right? Number one is that courage piece of kind of going out on your own, right? And deciding to do something different. But in your transitions, right, you have also stepped into authentic leadership,
Yes.
which is a second kind of level of courage, right?
Yes.
Talk about that intuitive piece, because that's something that a lot of women are intuitive decision makers,
Yes.
right? And that's something, number one, we don't talk about. And number two, we would probably run from, right? But
Yes.
you kind of jumped into it and sort of went with who you were at your core as opposed to who you thought the market wanted you to be. Explain that, how you did that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And, it's an evolution and it's honestly, it's a practice, right? One of the things that I have learned to retrain myself around is I think so many times we let our mind lead us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is very powerful. It convinces us of a lot of amazing things. But at the end of the day, what our mind is really leading with is our ego, wanting
Mm-hmm.
to look good, but also fear around fight or flight. And so a lot of what I've learned to do is to really kind of take a step back and embrace this, what I call the pause, and to use that opportunity, use that moment or moments to go back in within myself and to really pay attention to how does this feel in my body, right? I didn't just, leave my corporate job or decide to transition my business overnight, right? It was a gradual evolution of myself where I was really getting to know a new part of myself and where inside of myself this new leadership was going to be born from. And the way that I actually talk about it is it's really about embodying this new version of myself, embodying this new leader within. And so what it has taught me is when my body is talking to me, it's getting curious about what it is saying. And that's how I teach intuition, learning where that's coming from versus if it's your fear or if it's your ego, it's coming from a completely different place. And so I know in my body where my intuition is speaking to me. And typically it's in my gut, my solar plexus.
Yeah.
And when fear is speaking to me, it's normally in my throat or in my chest. And so I tap back into that. And that's how I teach women to really allow themselves to lead from that place of intuition. And so many times we get afraid to do that because, well, where's the evidence?
Right.
How do I know? But yet there's this knowing within ourselves that we're feeling that call. And yes, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to lean in and to try. And so the way that I try to inspire clients to tap in slowly is, well, start with what do you want for breakfast? Start with what is it that you want to do on a Saturday afternoon by yourself, right? Not going out and quitting your job and, starting a business from nothing, but really starting to kind of, I don't want to say play with it, but to just start of getting curious about those different body sensations and start paying attention and observing what it is that you're creating as you are tapping into those new places. And that's what builds the muscle for you to be able to then go and make these big decisions about business or, new beliefs or things like that. And it then becomes so, I don't want to say addictive, but you get excited about oh my God, look what I just created from this one little knowing and this one hit that I received or this download. And that's what keeps, kind of the fire going of wanting to stay in that momentum.
You talked about, and I think this is such an important point, but as someone who has thought everything my whole life, right?
Yes.
And my whole world is up here,
yes,
right?
Of course.
And I think that part that you're talking about, which is connecting to your body, that's a simple thing, right? But a lot of times we as women do not do that, right? No. So do you have any kind of a simple practice that you could sort of give someone who might be listening to this and thinking they want to take a step forward to start a business, to change what they're doing, but they lack sort of that, not only that courage, but they've got all this head trash, right?
Yeah.
How do you begin to dive into that place in your body where the knowingness is, and how do you let that guide you to concrete steps out in the real world, so to speak?
Yeah, it's not complicated, right? I think that a lot of times we think that it has to be this overcomplicated, oh, it's too many steps. But really the first thing is just to create a moment of pause for yourself. Now, for some people, this may be just sitting in a quiet room. For other people, it may be, taking a shower or going outside, putting your feet in the grass or taking a walk. But just to give yourself an opportunity to just get present, right? Mm-hmm. Just to get yourself present in a moment where you can gift yourself and your head with some space and some quiet. And I encourage my clients to do some breath work, right? So I've actually recently learned a new breathwork technique that I love that is working really well for myself and my clients, which is really taking a deep breath in from, your gut, your sacral, and then watching that breath come up, taking a second breath in through your heart space, and then watching it kind of come full circle as you're exhaling on the way out and seeing your breath kind of in this circle space.
Oh, interesting.
And what that really enables you to do is it just lets you get really present in this moment, and it allows you, because you're concentrating on your breath, to start getting out of your head a little bit, right? And getting yourself quiet in that place. And I will always start with just asking a simple question, not what is my business supposed to be, right? That's a big question, right?
Right.
But just something about like, tell me something that I need to know in this moment today. Like, what is going to guide me in my highest and best in sitting at my desk today, right? Starting with something very simple. And instead of getting into that headspace of, or I should say it this way, notice what happens after you ask the question, right? Notice if your head is all of a sudden, oh my God, what is it going to say? Right? You feel the tension and the anxiety. So if you feel that at any given moment, notice it, say thank you for trying to protect me, and have it walk away, right? And free it, give gratitude and let it go. And then continue to just focus on your breath. And you'll notice that something quiet, a whisper, is going to come in and say, take a break at, this time today or whatever it is. And so even just doing that breath work is going to give you the opportunity to be able to notice what sensation is coming in when, and instead of getting angry at yourself or frustrated, just get curious about it and allow yourself to stay present in that moment to see what does come through. And I'm a big proponent of journaling as well. Like, journal your experience, get present, start, for me, when I write things down, it enables me to really get present and pay even closer attention to what's coming through. And what I've also noticed with my clients is that when you journal, you'll also start tapping in to your intuition. All of a sudden, these thoughts will come to you because you're allowing yourself to just kind of be in the moment of writing, and even more will start downloading and coming through. So that's what I would say.
Do you feel that it's in that sort of quiet space? Because I know, as somebody who is a concrete decision maker, or, lawyer, or somebody who deals in facts and things I can see, I think it's always hard for me because I tend to overthink things, right? And so do you think that when you start to do these practices, is that where creativity also resides? Because I think a lot of times if you're in a non-creative kind of business, right, you question whether or not you have enough creativity to do whatever you need to do to start a business. And people would focus on things like, I'm not a graphic artist, I don't know what my logo should look like. I mean, there's a million things, right? The website, blah, 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 right? But tell me about sort of that process of really kind of tapping into creativity.
Yeah, I'm not a creative person, logically, right? I'm a controlling analyzer. I'm a type A personality. I love being in control. I love spreadsheets. Like, I'm not a creative person. However, what I have learned is, what are the experiences that I get to create for myself where I do allow myself and my mind to, what I call, use my imagination, right? That is what's powerful for me. So when I want to tap into my creativity, that's when I know that I need to lay down. I need to close my eyes. I put on meditation music, and I'll let myself just feel the tones of the music that are coming through my body, and allow that to move me and to give me the opportunity to get out of my head, get out of the overthinking of, okay, I have this new program, I'm super excited about it, and I'm like, okay, tactics, like, what are the tactics? That's not how it works, right? And for me, the way that I teach it is it's really leaning into, and for me, creativity is about leaning into my energetic blueprint. What is the energetic blueprint of this program? And for me, it's the creativity is in what is the sensation? What is the feeling that I want to put out that is going to attract people in? So for me, the creativity doesn't rely on a logo or an image necessarily. For me, it's what is the energy behind what I'm putting out there? And I don't think that we give enough credit to language and to the energy that we put in our words that people feel when they read our posts or our emails or wherever our content is going out. And so when I am tapping into my own creativity, it's what is the energy signature that I want to put on this that people are going to see, hear, and feel? Because really, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter what the image looks like per se. It's really what is the energy behind what it is that you are creating, that you're putting out there. That's what people see and feel.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What's kind of next for you? Where are you heading from? Because you've obviously started doing something very kind of this plain divorce, right?
Right.
And you've moved more into some intuitive work. And tell me what you see as kind of the next iteration of Wendy Paige Sterling.
I love that question. So right now, I'm really very passionate about a movement that I am creating, which is all around standing in your being of the unapologetic woman. And that is my mastermind. It is, the foundation for a lot of what I am creating. So right now, it's really about teaching women how to stand in their most unapologetic self. And that means no more apologizing, no more justifying, no more making excuses, little words that we use. We don't realize the power of you're actually apologizing when you're using these little words when you're speaking, and really educating women to not be afraid to show up as all of who they are. I think as a former people pleaser, right? I want everyone to like me. I want to feel like I'm enough in this world. And what I've come to realize and what I'm really passionate about moving forward is helping women to just know that everything that they are is enough, and they get to be unapologetic in every aspect of their life and business, because that is what people are craving. And if they rub people the wrong way, they're not your people. And it's okay, because you can't be everything to everybody. So that's really what I'm most passionate about at this stage of my business.
Yeah. Talk for a minute about that. That's really authenticity, right? What you're talking about is authenticity, unapologetic, showing up as you are. Your people will find you and you will find your people, right?
Yes.
Talk about that experience of what that really looks like on the day-to-day, and how important is it as a woman business owner to really establish or find a community where you can show up as unapologetic.
Yeah.
Right?
So the foundation of what I teach in being your most unapologetic self is learning how to trust yourself, right? This brings back in the intuition piece, right? And so I have a framework. It's called my trust methodology that I teach, because at the end of the day, if you don't trust yourself to be all of who you are, then how is it that you are going to make that impact in the world? And to me, you are your most authentic self when you fully trust in all of who you be, right?
Yes.
And, as someone who is a really great doer, this aspect of tapping into my being, right? My being is where I actually thrive and where my trust lives. So the trust framework is really, the T is all about tuning into your intuition. The R is releasing your limiting beliefs, right? And the stories that you've come to accept as your own, which aren't. The U is about uncovering what the actual truths are instead of, what your ego is telling you. The S is all about surrendering into what is meant for you and who you be in those moments. And then the T is really about trust. That is trusting that you are on that path based on the steps that you have taken for yourself. And so for me, I have found that every time I trust that inner knowing, it's never what I think, right?
Yeah.
Our minds plan all these things out, but the universe has something so much more powerful and valuable for us that it really is in that practice of surrender that you're able to really lean in and trust, because the outcome is going to be tenfold better than what you could ever imagine.
I think surrender is such a difficult concept.
It is. It is.
Especially for retiring control freaks.
Yes.
Surrender is it's really a tough concept for most people, because I think some people put judgment on the word surrender, right? But it really isn't about surrendering, really. It's kind of like letting go, right?
Yes.
It's detaching from the outcome.
Yes.
Right?
100%. And it's so hard. As I've said, type A control, type personality
really
over here. The surrender piece is so hard.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing when you are moving into that controller part of you, right? Again, coming back into the sensation. How does it feel? Where do you feel when you are trying to be in control? I also know for me, it's when I start getting into busy work. When I'm in like the doing, I'm out of surrender. Versus when I'm in surrender, it's a much calmer energy. It's in a receiving energy, and the work happens through a much less checking things off a list process. So I would invite people to notice, like when you are in your controller, where do you feel that? What's coming up? What do you typically do? Right? Versus when you're in the surrender, you're in your feminine, you're in your being. It's really about what is your presence? How are you showing up? It's not in the doing.
Tell me one woman that you've worked with in the last few years that is just doing phenomenal stuff, is just doing and you're so proud of what this person, where they started and where
I mean, honestly, it's hard to pick one, but I'll pick the one who she's just on fire right now. So one of my clients, it's funny, we had a collaboration call. I ended up actually hiring her to do some branding for me. And in that process of hiring her, I noticed how actually I could help her if she hired me. And so she ended up hiring me, and she and I have been working together now for about 3.5 months. And she joined my Unapologetic Woman Mastermind group. And in just 3 months, she has made almost double in one quarter what she made in all of last year.
Wow.
And it is because she has been willing to shift how she has been showing up in her business.
Yeah.
She's actually gifted herself with more rest. She is gifting herself with more playtime. She is gifting herself with creating and being the life and the woman in her life, the mom, the business owner, the wife that she wants to be. And she's noticing that her energy has shifted, and it's actually not only attracting new clients, it's actually attracting higher paying clients who are not saying no to her high ticket packages.
Yeah.
And so she has committed to doing the work on herself, right? This isn't easy. You don't just wave a magic wand and this happens, but she has been willing to go there. She has allowed and has taken my coaching to be able to really look at herself. Like sometimes I call myself a mirror to my clients because I'm going to be that mirror that you're afraid to look in. But once you do, you're actually going to see the reflection that I see, not the one that you do. So are you willing to do the work to get to the reflection that I am showing you is possible for you? And she has been 100% committed in that. And I'm just so proud of her, and I can't wait to see how she finishes the year.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This is a phenomenal conversation. I think that all of us who own businesses and are wanting to start businesses, there are so many things that you literally can't do yourself. So I'm super happy to provide a place where people can have this conversation. Thanks a lot.
Oh my God,
Wendy.
it's such an honor to be here. I adore you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you the next time on Her Table, Her Rules.